And right now we want to talk about an issue, John, that's maybe a little bit controversial. And it's relative around the versions of the Bible. And often, not often, but occasionally we'll hear those that say, the King James should be the only version that's used, and every other version is less desirable, let's say, than that. But give us your perspective on the Bible and its versions.
Yeah, I want to say some things that are very basic in relationship to this. So if it is too basic for most people listening, just bear with me. It's very important to say this, however, especially for new believers. The Bible was not written in English. I know that sounds like the most obvious thing that I can say, but the Bible came to us in 3 different languages. I mean, the first language is Hebrew. There are a few chapters in our Old Testament that were actually written in Aramaic, a couple of chapters in Daniel, I think one in Zechariah. And then the New Testament was written to us in Greek. So if we want the Bible the way it's originally been written, well, you have to read it in those languages. Anything else is a translation, and anyone who's ever spoken more than one language will tell you that there's never a one-to-one correspondence between 2 languages. So as accurate as a translation can be, it can never be perfect. So whatever we say of our translations, they will not be inerrant as the original was. Okay. Second thing I want to say, so that'll help in terms of what we're talking about. So to argue for a perfect King James is just not possible. Yeah. Having said that, I want to say that the King James is an excellent Bible translation, but there's more to say. The second thing that I want to say is that we don't actually have the original documents, but we have hundreds and thousands of manuscripts that give us a very accurate picture of what the original was. When the King James was translated, and the year was 1611, they used something called the Textus Receptus. And someone's going to say, where is that Textus Receptus? And there is no such document. We know there was a man by the name of Erasmus who was a contemporary of Martin Luther. He took the best documents that he had available to him, and there were only 6 manuscripts, and none of them contained the entire Bible. But he rather pieced them together, and in his own words, he looked forward to a day in which we would have better and more manuscript evidence than he had. So in 1611, I think that the translators of the King James Version did a masterful job of bringing the Bible into a contemporary language in the English-speaking world. Again, let me say, that wasn't in the German-speaking world, the Spanish-speaking world, the Swahili-speaking world. Yeah. I mean, all the different languages of the world, but it was one for the English-speaking world, and it was a good job. Since that point in time, more manuscripts have been found, thousands more, and many of them much earlier than that which is available to Erasmus. And anyone who's interested in an inerrant Bible wants the best manuscripts that they can find. And so that's what we find. So many of our listeners will know that I commonly will preach out of the ESV. I think it follows in the King James Version tradition, but it also is not a perfect translation. I like the best of all translations available in the English language. For its literalism, I like the NASB, or the New American Standard Bible. It is as best as we can find for a word-for-word translation. However, it's written at about a grade 11 level, and for that reason, I like the ESV, which is written at about a grade 9 level, which makes it a little bit easier for individuals to understand. So I'm going to argue that there are a great many good translations, and I'm thankful for the King James. I would want to also say with deference that there's no reason to believe that the King James is the standard for all time. The standard are the original documents that were written.